I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm vengeance.
I'm rich.
Batman, the most popular superhero out there, the face of DC, and the only hero who has had so many live action adaptations through the years. Well, today, let's get our analytical caps on and decide who can be hailed as the best live action Batman. Welcome, everyone. This is The Milestoner, and today we will be searching for the definitive cinematic Batman, the one who is the most accurate to what traditional Batman is supposed to be like. Now, there have been so many versions of Batman, and obviously, I cannot dissect each of them, so I will just be considering the actors who portray the character in feature films. Which means I will have to leave out David Mazur's in Gotham, Kevin Conroy's special appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Ian Glenn in Titans. While Adam West did portray Batman in a movie besides the show, and he is quite iconic, he portrayed a more comedic Batman, so I won't be considering him. So these will be the only actors I am considering. Now I will be looking at a couple of categories which define Batman's characteristics and use those to determine which actor did the best job as Batman. So without wasting any more time, let's begin. First off, we have physicality. Now Batman is known to be at the absolute peak of human strength and endurance. He is trained in multiple forms of martial arts and is known to be extremely durable, capable of pushing through pain that would break most people. Michael Keaton's Batman definitely had the style and presence of the character, but when it came to combat, he was mostly stiff and unimpressive in fight sequences, largely due to the limitations of the suit and the choreography of the time. Val Kilmer was definitely more agile, and you can see a step up in mobility, but it still wasn't as impressive or grounded as Batman is supposed to be at his peak. George Clooney easily had the most over-the-top and campy fight scenes, which had little to no weight behind them. The first actual contender here comes from Christian Bale. We get to see Bruce train with the League of Shadows through the first half of Batman Begins, and throughout the rest of the trilogy, we see more physical feats from him. His most impressive feat comes in The Dark Knight Rises during the prison climb, where he regains the mantle of Batman and eventually goes toe-to-toe with Bane. However, Bale's Batman often relies more on strategy than brute strength, so we don't get as many standout physical feats, and most of his fight choreography is held back by choppy editing. Ben Affleck is definitely the most physically intimidating Batman. He's bigger, stronger, and far more brutal. He was able to fight and defeat a weakened Superman, take down multiple parademons, and deliver what is arguably the best live-action Batman fight sequence, the warehouse scene. His combat style feels efficient, aggressive, and comic accurate, blending strength with technique. And finally, we have Robert Pattinson. From the very first moment he appears on screen in The Batman, it's clear that this Batman is more of a brawler. He fights through hordes of goons, escapes a station full of police officers, and endures an extreme level of damage. He survives point-blank explosions, crashes into a bridge and rolls off a moving truck, gets electrocuted, and even tanks a shotgun blast to the chest. This is easily the most durable Batman we have seen on screen. So if we take a look at all of them, Ben Affleck clearly emerges as the most physically proficient Batman. Robert Pattinson comes in second place, and the rest follow in this order. Next up, IQ. Now Batman has always been one of the smartest heroes out there. Known to have an IQ of well over 250, he is a master tactician, strategist, and scientist. Michael Keaton's Batman showed this quite well. He was able to reverse engineer the Joker's toxins to create antidotes, expose Penguin to the public using his own technology against him, and is constantly shown to be methodical in his vigilante work. Val Kilmer is shown to be similarly quite intelligent, cracking Riddler's enigmatic riddles and strategically tricking Two-Face. However, he is held back by the film's campy tone, which overshadows a lot of the feats and prevents them from having any real weight. The campy aspects also hampered George Clooney, as the only real display of intelligence that we see from him is creating a cure for Alfred Pennyworth, and even that is presented very surface level. Christian Bale, on the other hand, is a completely different case. Having trained under the League of Shadows, his Batman possesses excellent strategic intelligence. This is demonstrated brilliantly when he storms the Joker's hideout, figures out the bluff involving hostages disguised as henchmen, and rescues the real hostages without any casualties. He consistently showcases his genius level intellect. whether by creating antidotes for Scarecrow's fear gas, utilizing Wayne Enterprises tech to develop his equipment and bat suit, and most impressively converting every phone in Gotham City into a sonar system to locate the Joker. Ben Affleck also has strong showings in terms of intelligence. He is able to hack into Lex Luthor's encrypted files and uncover the existence of metahumans. We also see him engineer multiple weapons using kryptonite to counter Superman, which is a significant feat considering this is a substance he has never encountered before. We also see his superior battle IQ during the warehouse sequence, as well as during his fight against Steppenwolf, where he formulates the strategy for the entire team. The only thing holding him back, however, is that his interpretation allows emotions to take control, leading to several poor decisions, especially in Batman vs Superman. Additionally, he does receive considerable assistance from Alfred. Robert Pattinson faces a somewhat similar issue. While his Batman is definitely a great detective, we do not consistently see him operate at a high level of strategic intelligence. He's constantly cracking ciphers and clues, yes, often with Alfred's assistance, and he uses advanced technology like the lens camera. However, we also see him make mistakes when applying his intelligence, misinterpreting Rata Alada, getting outplayed by the Riddler, and failing to anticipate the larger plan. So at the end of this round, Christian Bale takes the win, with Ben Affleck coming in a close second and the rest following after. Next up, I have detective skills. I decided to keep this and IQ as separate categories since they function as distinct skill sets for Batman. Batman has always been known as the world's greatest detective, often being compared to the likes of Sherlock Holmes. Michael Keaton's Batman leads more towards the analytical sides of things. His biggest feats include figuring out the Joker's scheme involving poisoned cosmetic products and uncovering the Penguin's plan before ultimately exposing him. His approach is more forensic and methodical rather than hands-on detective work. Val Kilmer, on the other hand, does a lot more traditional detective work. He's constantly cracking the Riddler's riddles throughout the film, and he even manages to deduce his true identity. Sure, the campy tone of the film does hold these moments back, but he still proves to be a capable and effective detective. We can easily gloss over George Clooney yet again, as this aspect of Batman is rarely explored in his portrayal. Christian Bale, while definitely being the most intelligent Batman, hardly engages in any detective work. He is far more reactive when it comes to dealing with threats in Gotham, relying on strategy and planning rather than actively uncovering mysteries or conspiracies. Ben Affleck does have a strong showing here. We do see him doing active detective work, primarily driven by his suspicion of Lex Luthor, which leads to him uncovering the existence of metahumans. He is also shown to track down criminals across Gotham, and he even manages to locate every member of the Justice League around the globe, including Cyborg, who had intentionally isolated himself from the world. However, Robert Pattinson is the clear winner here. Throughout the Batman, we consistently see him operating as a detective, analyzing the Riddler's crime scenes, deciphering ciphers and clues, and gradually uncovering a deeper conspiracy tied to his parents and Gotham itself. Sure, he does get outplayed by the Riddler at times, but that still does not take away from the fact that this is the most complete depiction of Batman's detective abilities in live action. So at the end of this round, Robert Pattinson easily takes first place, Val Kilmer surprisingly comes in second, and the rest follow in this order. Now we have the most important category, Bruce Wayne. Yes, you heard that right. I am judging the man under the mask separately. While Batman is the vigilante who delivers justice to Gotham, Bruce Wayne is the facade he has to maintain in front of the world, the billionaire playboy philanthropist. Michael Keaton brings his own spin to Bruce Wayne by portraying him as an awkward, detached, yet surprisingly thoughtful man. He still managed to pull off a subtle version of the playboy charm while maintaining an air of mystery, which makes his interpretation quite unique. Val Kilmer builds on some of these aspects while adding a stronger sense of internal turmoil, especially with the introduction of Dick Grayson. His Bruce is more emotionally conflicted, yes, but that also results in a lack of a clearly defined public persona. George Clooney, on the other hand, fully embraces the Bruce Wayne personality. He naturally embodies the charismatic, wealthy playboy image. However, the film's campy tone does cause a major issue. Bruce never feels like a mask. Instead, he just feels like the main identity, with Batman being the mask, which takes away from the layered nature of the character. We can never forget the credit card scene. Christian Bale, in my opinion, delivers the perfect Bruce Wayne. He has the smooth charisma that Bruce is supposed to have, while also capturing the internal conflict of living a double life. One moment he's walking into a restaurant with models and casually buying out the entire place. The next, he is having a deeply personal conversation with Alfred about the burden of being Batman. That duality, the mask and the man, is executed flawlessly. I also feel Ben Affleck is often underappreciated as Bruce Wayne. Yes, he plays a older, much worn down version of the character, but we still see many of the classic traits. This is especially seen at the gala hosted by Lex Luthor, where he meets Clark Kent for the first time. Affleck pulls off Bruce's suave, controlled persona effortlessly, and he can instantly switch when no one is watching. Moments like recruiting Barry Allen, his interactions with Diana Prince, and especially his speech in The Flash about the dangers of dwelling in the past, these are peak Bruce Wayne moments, and Affleck absolutely delivers. Finally, we come to Robert Pattinson. Now, to be fair, we have only seen him in one film, and this is a Bruce who is just in his second year as Batman. He hasn't fully developed that separation between the suit and the man yet. That's why we do not see a distinct Bruce Wayne persona yet. If anything, he actively avoids it. He is reluctant to even appear in public, and Alfred has to push him to step into that role. We do get to see some nuance from him through the course of the story, but it is still developing, and hopefully we will get a more realized Bruce Wayne in the Batman Part 2. So, at the end of this round, Christian Bale takes a clear win for delivering the most complete and balanced Bruce Wayne, while Michael Keaton surprisingly takes the second spot, and the rest follow in this order. Next, let's take a look at the costume. Batman is nothing without his suit. Not only does it instill fear in his enemies, but it also serves multiple practical purposes. The cape allows him to glide through the skies, the utility belt carries everything he needs in the field, and even the bat symbol on his chest is often detachable and used as a weapon. Michael Keaton's suit perfectly captures the classic look and imposing nature of Batman. It is iconic and instantly recognizable. However, the major issue is that it heavily restricts mobility, making his movements stiff and limiting his effectiveness in combat. Val Kilmer's suits are definitely more streamlined and allow for greater mobility than Keaton's. However, the inclusion of the infamous bat nipples design significantly detracts from the overall aesthetic, holding the suit back despite its improvements. George Clooney's suits just double down on this same issue, further emphasizing the style choices that don't fit the character. Now, Christian Bale had a great batsuit that evolved through the trilogy. It was tactical, streamlined, and imposing, allowing for much greater mobility and efficiency in combat. It also integrated various gadgets seamlessly. However, at times the suit does come across more like a military outfit than a traditional Batman suit, which makes sense considering it's explicitly built from military-grade Kevlar in the films. Ben Affleck definitely had the most comic accurate suits, whether it is his standard bat suit or the heavily armored version in his fight against Superman. They look like they've been pulled straight out of the Dark Knight Returns. His Nightmare suit is yet another excellent variation. Every single suit that he uses serves a specific purpose. Even the tactical suit in Justice League features reinforced plating, allowing him to go toe-to-toe with parademons. And the warehouse scene is the perfect showcase of how effective his bat suit is. Every element from armor to the cape is effectively used. And finally, we have Robert Pattinson. This is probably the most imposing batsuit we have seen. The sheer weight and presence of the suit, especially the sound of those heavy boots, is enough to instill fear in criminals. The gauntlets are built for brutal close combat. The cowl is durable enough to withstand significant damage, and even the bat emblem is detachable and used as a weapon, just like in the comics. So, for this round, Ben Affleck easily takes the win because of the comic accuracy and versatility of the suits. Robert Pattinson comes in a close second, and the rest follow in this order. And finally, we have character arc. Bruce Wayne always has a clear story, a clear emotional and psychological journey shaped by his trauma and his transformation into Batman. And that is what truly defines the character. Michael Keaton presents a more subtle arc. Across Batman and Batman Returns, his Bruce is already fully formed as Batman. The journey isn't about becoming something new, but rather understanding his place in Gotham. There is a quiet internal struggle in him through the course of both films, especially in Batman Returns, where the arrival of Catwoman reflects his own duality. This is also continued further in The Flash, where we meet an older Bruce Wayne who has gotten rid of all crime in Gotham and is no longer being able to fit into the city. So he has isolated himself to his mansion. And through the course of the film, he regains his place in the world as a hero. And in the climax, he heroically sacrifices his life multiple times before Barry ultimately changes the timeline. Val Kilmer has a more introspective arc. In Batman Forever, Bruce is forced to confront his past and trauma more directly through the arrival of Dick Grayson. Grayson has suffered a similar trauma to Bruce, and while raising the young teenager, Bruce begins to question what Batman truly means. And by the end, he accepts both sides of him, Bruce Wayne and Batman, as one identity. And he also warms up to Dick. It is a strong arc on paper, even if the execution is held back by the film's tone. George Clooney also attempts a character arc, though it is much lighter. In Batman and Robin, his journey revolves around trust and partnership, especially in his relationship with Robin and later Batgirl. His bond with Alfred Pennyworth also adds some emotional weight. However, the arc lacks depth and never feels as impactful as it should due to the tonal whiplash in the film. Christian Bale delivers what is probably the most complete and well-structured arc. Across the Dark Knight trilogy, we see Bruce evolve from a man driven purely by vengeance into a true symbol of hope. The core theme of his journey is consequence, and much of it is shaped by his villains. Batman Begins is all about Bruce learning what it truly means to be Batman. He starts as someone consumed by anger and loss, but eventually channels that into purpose and becomes a protector to Gotham. The Dark Knight pushes this even further by exploring the consequences of Batman's existence. The rise of criminals like the Joker is a direct response to Batman's presence, and Bruce begins to understand that Gotham may not need Batman forever, but a symbol of hope like Harvey Dent is what the city truly needs. But when Dent falls, Bruce makes the ultimate sacrifice by taking the blame for Dent's crimes and going into hiding. In The Dark Knight Rises, the arrival of Bane completely shatters that. Broken, defeated, and physically destroyed, he is forced to rebuild himself from nothing, and by the end, he has to become the true hero for Gotham, eventually sacrificing himself and becoming the symbol of hope for the city. Bruce's mission to rid Gotham of crime only succeeds when he stops doubting his place in the world and fully embraces his role as a hero. Ben Affleck offers a different but equally compelling arc. Introduced in Batman vs Superman as a broken, cynical Batman who has completely lost his way, his journey is one of redemption. Years of crime fighting has turned him into something darker. He brands criminals, uses excessive force, and has become someone Gotham fears. Viewing Superman as an extraterrestrial threat, he becomes obsessed with taking him down, going so far as to nearly kill him. It is only when he realizes that Superman has a human mother, someone he can lose just like Bruce once did, that he recognizes how far he has fallen, having failed to see the humanity in others. After witnessing Superman's sacrifice in the battle against Doomsday, Bruce regains his faith in humanity and chooses to become hero again. And this continues into Justice League, where he takes on the role of a leader, assembling a team to defend the world against Steppenwolf. And this also ties into the nightmare future we get glimpses of, where he leads a resistance against an evil Superman. It's a powerful arc, the rise of a fallen hero from fear and brutality to hope and unity, even though it isn't explored as deeply as it could have been due to the lack of a solo film. And finally, we have Robert Pattinson. In The Batman, we see one of the most grounded and emotionally resonant arcs put to screen. This is a young Batman, driven completely by anger and vengeance, and we see this reflected in how he operates. He's brutal, relentless, and feared by criminals. He isolates himself emotionally, distancing himself even from Alfred, completely believing that he must carry out this mission alone. His scuffle with the Riddler and the cat and mouse chase leads him to uncover the deep-rooted corruption within Gotham, and he slowly begins questioning the ways that he has been using. Through the course of the film, Bruce realizes that his identity as vengeance is not just ineffective, but highly dangerous. It inspires others like the Riddler to take justice into their own hands in far more destructive ways. And by the end, he chooses to evolve. He steps away from vengeance and begins to become a symbol of hope. The final moments of the film where he leads civilians into safety completely represents that transformation. And this marks a crucial turning point in his character, which will no doubt be continued in the Batman Part 2. So, at the end of this round, I will have to crown Christian Bale as the winner, with Robert Pattinson coming a close second and the others coming in this order. So now we are at the end, and let's take a look at the final tally to determine who among these is truly the best live action Batman. In last place, we have George Clooney with 34 points, followed by Val Kilmer with 26 points, Michael Keaton coming in next with 22 points, Robert Pattinson takes the third place with 17 points, Christian Bale secures second place with 14 points, and just edging him out is Ben Affleck at the top spot with 13 points. And there we have it. Ben Affleck's portrayal of Batman is the best live action interpretation of the character. Now, I know this is extremely controversial. Affleck's Batman uses guns, he kills, and that directly goes against what Batman traditionally stands for. But within the context of his story, that choice is intentional. This is a Batman who has fallen, broken by years of crime, loss, and failure. Someone who has lost his moral compass. And through the course of his arc in the films, he regains that morality. His portrayal is compelling because the journey is about redemption. Then again, this is not my take. We went through all the categories to come to this result. So let me know what you think down in the comments, if you agree or disagree, and who your favorite live action Batman is. But please do keep it respectful. Also, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.